Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Noni Davis, and Happy New Year to everybody. As many of you may know, I am a legacy owner of Sya Academy and an African Center School here in North Carolina, and passed on to me by my parents, the late William Edward Davis Sr., and my mother, who's still with us, 83 years old, Sylvia Davis. And so I wanted to share with you all, first of all, I don't know how many of you know this, that today is Melakam Gena. It is Christmas in Ethiopia. And I'm so thrilled because I have Ethiopian students at my school and have had Ethiopians at my school for, wow, many, many years, at least throughout the 30 years, I mean, well, the 28 years we've been here. So, yes. So Happy New Year and Melakam Gena from the Ethiopian folks. What I want to is in celebration of this day. So as you can see, that is, I love going down rabbit holes. I'm a researcher to my core. But today I wanted to just take a deep dive because we as African Americans are always, those of us who still practice Christianity or have a nod to it. There's a lot of, oh, Black Jesus, I don't know why y'all keep doing that and all this stuff. But we have a whole group of people in Ethiopia and in Egypt who are practicing uh, Christianity through that African lens. And so I'm like, why can't we keep going through these periods where you have this thrust back towards Africa, and people, ever since we've been here, we were first fighting on ships trying to get back home, and then we were celebrating our Blackness, and then when we during the Revolutionary War we were fighting to get back. Some of us fought on the British side, and then we had some of us we had this Back to Africa movement, and then you had then the 1800s you had folks that we're still moving towards that during with this battle between staying here, or Frederick Douglass was like, stay here. Other people were saying, get back, go back. Um, and so we have always had this resurgence of this African connection. In the 60s, well, what was it, Marcus Garvey, and then, Dr. W.B. Du Bois eventually went on back in the 60s. You had Malcolm X movement. You had where people were going back and connecting back to Africa. And so, and then we've had this, now Africa is saying, hey, come home. So if we're going to me, this is another area where we need to really we got the church, Black Madonna. We have churches here in Durham who have Black Jesus and Black paintings of angels on there. And so we are already in that space, but I wonder if it would be great if we could just completely abandon this Western worldview and, just embrace the Ethiopian Christmas practices. And so according to the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, this is 2025, but according to the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar, it's only 2018. And we have to remember that different cultures have different calendars, okay? And so this was funny to me. I did not realize that the Gregorian calendar was created in 1582. So it isn't even 500 years old. We're adhering to this calendar that Pope Gregory the 13th created in 1582 to replace the Julian calendar, which was only created in 46 BC, which means it's not even 250. Well, maybe it's just over 250 thousand, 250 years old, 250, 2,500. Okay. No, it's like 2,100, something like that. So we are practicing these things are recent. And the reason why it's funny is because you go back and I did, I'm going to go back and say, well, let me look at these other calendars. So, the Yoruba calendar, according to the Yoruba people in Nigeria, this is the year 10,067. We doing 1582. All right. And then the Vikram Samvat, the Hindu calendar, they're like, it is 2081, and their new year begins on March 30th. And then in the Kemetic calendar, it is, this is ancient Egypt, it's the year 62,067. And I think in Islam, I already said that it's 1446. So we have all these different calendars. And so I am not even going to get caught up in that. But I think that we need to understand that, these West African people say they older than all y'all. And, they have their own thing. I mean, for the Ethiopian calendar has 13 months. They have 12 months of 30 days. And then they have 5 days, 1 month, the 13th month of 5 days and 6 days if it's a leap year. So everybody knew also that there were 365 days of orbiting around the sun and all that. So, it's very interesting. But anyway, in the Gregorian calendar, or no, the Orthodox calendar, I'm sorry, we're going to go back to the Ethiopians. This is the 29th day of Tassus. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, please forgive me. But that is their calendar, and I guess that would be the equivalent of January. Now, this is the language of Amharic, an Ethiopian language. But it's really interesting that Aramaic, which is the Hebrew language that Jesus spoke, is very close to Amharic. And in Amharic, his name is Iesus, Iesus, which is older than the Catholic Church. All right, so God is Ixia, Lord of the nation. And so we can see that well, I already said it, that Jesus is older, probably an older name than what we call Jesus. And so, the name above all names, we should be probably doing it Jesus. But I digress. Anyway, so historically, the image of Jesus does align with what we say Jesus should look like. And so I'm just going to show y'all. This is the Ethiopian picture of Jesus. And this is amber skin, uh, burnished bronze with woolly hair. And he looked like he got some locks there. Or his hair is parted like black people do. Anyway, and so I just wanted y'all to know this looks like the Revelations Jesus that I read about. Oh, because he got that hair like wool. So black Jesus, Yesu, should be the picture that everybody should be using in their house. If you're black and you practice Christianity. That's just what I think you should do. Anyway, you don't have to do what I say, but anyway, it's a suggestion. So, how is Gena Christmas celebrated in Ethiopia? Well, it's not going to be commercial because black people, we don't usually, this is a Western. The West is, and especially in America, is always about capitalism. So, in their tradition, the celebration starts on November 24th. So, while we're having Thanksgiving, they are beginning the fast. And it's a 43-day fast, and it's similar to Lent. So, like, what we do during Easter. And they fast. The fast is called Some Nebayat or Soma Gehad. I could not figure out which one is which, but both of those were referring to the fast. Now, there's not no eating. What their fasting is, just like Lent. You have to refrain from meat, and you refrain from uh, uh, fish, chicken, no beef or anything like that. But you only eat grains and vegetables, and you cannot consume any form of alcohol. And this is what you do for 43 days. And then it's also a time of prayer, meditation, and reflection. As you can imagine, this is like spiritual. No toys. You don't buy toys for the kids. They might get clothes on the Christmas day. The ones who do have a Santa Claus is a recent addition, and it is mostly in the areas where people are still practicing or have incorporated the Western idea. On Christmas Eve, January 6th, the Ethiopians attend church dressed in all white, and with cotton cloth with colorful stripes called a netala, and it has the red in it. And similar to watch night. Now this is similar. Okay, so there are a lot of things that are similar to what Black people do, but we know watch night was New Year's Day for us was prayer time because we knew we might be losing ancestors the next day, and during our enslavement, and it was also a time of really prayer and just getting away from other folks and finding solidarity amongst ourselves. But anyway, the Ethiopians have this similar thing on their Gena night. So yesterday was their day of prayer and meditation. And some people travel from church to church, but they're there all night. The fast is broken on today, January 7th, with a dish with chicken sauce and boiled eggs, and it's called Dora Wat. And I have had Dora Wat. Oh, here's a picture of the white clothing that they wear. This is and they're doing their prayers and stuff. Ethiopians are not playing that game there. Uh, and this is another example of the white and the red that they would be wearing the traditional dress. I used to have one of this. Now this is the meal. This is Dora Watt, and it's the chicken and this red sauce with boiled eggs, and it is delicious. And then they also have injera, and injera, as you can see, it kind of looks like a pancake, and you break it off and you roll it in, and everybody eats out of the same dish, and so you just dig in, you take the injera and you wrap it around your food and you eat. The most delicious thing you've ever seen. And then they also drink their Ethiopian coffee and Ethiopian coffee. And I got one of those pots. I'm so, yes, I have one of those. And I have several of the artifacts here, but I do not have a coffee set, which I'm planning to buy. And so this is how they celebrate that they break their fast. Now, they also play this game called what do they call it? Oh goodness, I can't remember, but it's like hockey. And so they it looks like hockey and it's played in the open field, but this is not hockey. It's like field hockey. And this is the oldest game that they have that in Ethiopia. They said they played it for thousands of years, but they believe it started on the first year, which would have been um, the day that Jesus was born or Jesus was born, and um, they go up. They believe that it was that when the announcement was made that Jesus was born, the shepherds were out in the fields, and they were making merriment, they were having joy, and so they started playing these games with their uh, uh, crooks. You know, the shepherds have the crook. Um, and their staff, and they were started, hitting a wooden ball around and started having all this merrymaking. And so that was the game that they attributed to that particular to the event of Jesus's birth. All right. So it is also believed that one of the three wise men was an Ethiopian. So this is also one reason there is such a celebration. And what I wanted to tell you is like, most of us know about the oh, what did they take Jesus? What did they give him? They gave him gold, frankincense, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Wait a minute, which one is it? This is the frankincense and this is the myrrh. Now, gold and frankincense and myrrh are all indigenous to Ethiopia. They said they've been collecting this stuff for like over 4,000 years. And so that's the gift that they brought Jesus. So I was like, were all the wise men from Ethiopia? Anyway, I got questions. I always got questions. And so, okay. So after they after Christmas and they give the children their clothes for the holiday, 12 days later they have a celebration called Gana on January 19th. The Ethiopian Orthodox celebrates Timkat for 3 days. This is called Timkat. And this is the celebration of the baptism of Jesus. Um, and children participate in the set procession, and I have a picture of something similar to that. What that would be at a procession. You have the children, you have them dressed up in these ornate, oh my goodness, clothing with crowns. Children are there, and then these are the Ethiopian Coptic crosses, and these are the umbrellas of the elders, and they're carrying this stick that's called, what do they call it? The macamia, something like that. But they stomp this. They take this staff and they hold a rhythm, and while they're holding the rhythm, they're also playing this sistrum. I've got a system. What is it? Am I calling it the right name? Let me see. The instrument, system. That's a sistrum. And does this not a tambourine? And they played these in Egypt too. And so when I purchased it, I thought, oh wow, that is such a cool tambourine. Had no idea it was a sistrum. Had no idea that this is a indigenous Ethiopian tambourine. Black people. Anyway, now I want y'all to know I do have my resources. So I have reontheaxum.com or rain. It looks like Rayno theaxum.com and health and fitness history.com on field hockey. And then I also did I went to adisnola.com to learn about the what the priests are doing. But I also want you to know that this story ain't over. This story ain't over. So, how many of y'all know what this is? If you are a Christian person, now I've been studying the Bible since I was a teenager. I had this beautiful woman. Her name was Clara Nell Brown at St. Joseph's AME Church. And I met her when I was in Sunday school. And she started showing me all these maps about the Bible. And I was just amazed at how many of them were in Africa. So when I say I know my Bible, I have read that thing back and forth from front to back and studied to show myself approved. Anyway, this is the Ark of the Covenant. Now, this Ark of the Covenant is supposed to have the Ten Commandments in it, and all of these things that God told Moses to do when he was at the top of the mountain, getting the word of God. And do you know that Ethiopia is the only place where they celebrate? Because I looked it up. The only place where they are celebrating the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. And it is, how did the Ark of the Covenant get to Ethiopia? Well, here is this person. Okay, this is E.A. Willis Budge, and he's controversial, but he translated a lot of religious books, and even translated the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, the Medu Neter, which means sacred writings. And so the Keeper and the Gas, I had a copy of this book. I think I gave it to my youngest son, Sekou. But this book is written by Ethiopians about how they got the Ark of the Covenant. So, I mean, if you know about the Songs of Solomon, so there was this beautiful woman named Makta, the Queen of Sheba, who was so heard about Solomon and went up there to visit him and found out that because she heard he was the wisest person in the world, and but he was so intrigued with her beauty and everything. And so anyway, the last night she was supposed to leave, she was there for 6 months just learning at his feet, and Do you know he did one? He pulled one of his daddy's numbers, King David's number, and yeah, he raped her. And so when she got back home, she got a baby, and her baby's name was Menelik the second. Where is Menelik? Oh, I don't know if I have a picture of him right here, but I'm gonna pull him up right here. So this was her son, Menelik the second. Let me see if I can erase it. So that's Menelik the second. And Menelik the second, when he grew up, he said, "I'm gonna go see my daddy." And so he went up there to see Solomon in Israel. And while he was there, they don't know how it happened, but somehow he got the uh um the Ark of the Covenant. And they found out that he had it, but they said by some spiritual power, he was able to take that the Ark of the Covenant and escape Israel with it. And they have this story of that it was taken during Babylon, but the Ethiopians say, "No, we got it," and we celebrate it every year, following the birth of Christ, during what we believe is Jesus's baptism. And so throughout biblical history, we have, Moses got this Ark of the Covenant. But if you go through this biblical history, and you will continuously find out how much Black people got to do with this. And so the Ethiopians have a very special connection to biblical history. Why aren't we following them? And celebrating this through their eyes. We know that when you open up the Genesis, one of the first things they tell you is Cush. Is this the right one? Oh, I mean, here. So Egypt, Cush. And this is the Nile River flowing up through Egypt. And so this is how, and you know what else is unique about this? Is that it's also where all the pyramids, when you go through Ethiopia, all through Sudan, Sudan has the most pyramids in the world. And as they travel from Ethiopia up through uh, Kush, I mean, Ethiopia, Kush to Egypt, through Sudan, they said the pyramids get larger and larger, which is why one of the reasons why I have to go to Egypt. I want to go down the Nile River and see all of this stuff. Also, the oldest person in the world, the oldest human or pre-human, was found in Ethiopia. Her name is Dinknesh, and she's 2 million years old, and they call her Lucy. And I know y'all remember that. And if you go into, Google, you will still find that Dinknesh is still considered the oldest person. So when we talk about Cush and we talk about the beginning of life, even in the Bible, it puts it back to, archaeology supports the biblical notion that Kush was one of the Ethiopia, those places down there are the oldest cultures. All right. We also have to look at what else do I have up here? Oh, Moses. So when you look at Moses, they say his wife was Ethiopian. This is the picture they have of Zipporah. I found that on the internet, sitting beside her husband. All right, and she's an Ethiopian woman. What else do we have here? I had somebody else. Thutmose. Moses comes is when we think of Moses. Did you know that this was Thutmose? Thutmose, Mose is his last name, and then you have Moses, and I'm like, so is that a shortened version of Moses? And then I ain't done yet. You have here. I've shown y'all pictures of the Ethiopian. Uh, let's see, Ethiopian nativity scene, and this is Joseph. That's the baby Jesus, Yeshu, and that's Mary. But how about the oldest one is from Egypt, and this is Aset, Asar, Aset, and Heru. And look at that. That's a Trinity scene too. So we got two Black Trinity scenes, and they're both from Africa. And these are the oldest Trinity scenes ever. So I guess what for me, the point here is that we need to, as Black people, we need to go back and say, wait, okay, our ancestors had this um, relationship with the Creator. Um, we are the first people to come up with spiritual systems. What should this celebration of Jesus or Jesus really be about? And how should we practice it? Are we going to continue to go down this capitalism, this thing be breaking people's backs? Parents are overwhelmed with trying to get all of these gifts and these things, and because ultimately, a lot of times, the spiritual meaning of something is is evaporated, when you are operating through this Eurocentric worldview, where in most African traditions, it is about self renewal, uh, taking a moment at the end of the year to reset and honor the Creator. You making a new connection with the Most High, and even our Kwanzaa celebration is that. You've got umoja, unity among the community. You've got kujichagulia, self-determination. How are we going to be the best that we can be? You have ujima, cooperative economics, building together and sharing what we have. Collective work and responsibility, building together and sharing what we have. Nia, purpose, knowing who you are. What is your role in your family? Self-reflection, Kuumba, creativity. How are we going to make things beautiful, better in our community? And Imani, faith. And so when you consider that even in our current day practices, we're still trying to find a way to be in realignment. This is an African practice of realignment, reconnection, rebuilding, reunifying, and not this idea of spend, 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 spend. How much money, and that your value becomes uh, associated with how much money you can, or how much you indulge others. Um and in this time, I think that, with this new administration coming in, a lot of us are going to have to tighten our belts anyway. We're going to have to reconnect with being Black people. Who are we? What do we need? What do we want, as they try to strip everything that they've given us, which really was not a gift because we earned it. Um, Most of us had to work hard to get these little pieces of paper that we got. I got my 3. It costs money, but it also was work. Nobody just gave it to me. And so I got my GPA because I worked for it. And then I've put in, this 28 years into the school, that my parents would not be here without my parents. And so I think that even in our spiritual systems, if you don't want to do Ifa, or you don't want to practice Islam, or you don't want to practice the Akan spiritual system, then I suggest do your Christianity through the lens of Africans. And what did the people of Ethiopia and what did the people of Egypt, what did they create? And what kind of spiritual practice? And does that spiritual practice align with renewal and connection and rebirth, and just immerse yourself in that? We don't have to do things the way Europeans do. We don't have to. And I invite you to make those changes. And once again, uh, Merry Christmas. And they say Melakam Gena. Melakam Gena. Ashe, Ashe.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I know my mother.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Sya student.